D, wait for it, light bulb.
Check out the name tag. You're in my world now, Grandma.
What's up, nerds? So you may have heard about the Episode 9 leaks that were linked to Collin Trevorrow's version of Star Wars that was not made. And also a bunch of concept art has shown up on the internet, which is completely different from what we got in The Rise of Skywalker. And apparently the Rise of Skywalker art book is being recalled to remove some things. So right now, we're gonna just take a look to see if any of this stuff makes the cut. Now there is some fascinating stuff here. And so first I just want to mention that these images that I'm about to show you come from the earliest draft of the script. And it was in the early days of the film, and it was released before The Last Jedi, and even before Carrie Fisher passed away. So it's very unlikely that what we're going to get here is exactly the final version. And even if Trevorrow had stayed on to direct Episode 9. Okay. So Coruscant was going to feature heavily in this movie. Culminating in a huge battle. The First Order would have taken it over, and they would have taken the Art Deco skyline that we saw in the prequels, and kind of a hodgepodge built up on top of this, kind of a ramshackle and this floating over the top of it, and in their capital ship. Now, Hux is still second in charge of the First Order, and Kylo Ren is off hiding, which I'll talk about in just a second. Now, this character right here is being executed, and his name is Bisk Kova, I believe, if that's how you say it. And you can see him in a Rebel flight uniform right here. And now this movie was going to open with members of the Rebellion stealing a Star Destroyer, which is then used later in the movie. And Finn, Poe, and Rose are captured and then rescued by Rey, who shows up in a Tusken Raider disguise, only to reveal this outfit, which is very reminiscent of Luke Skywalker in Return of the Jedi. And in this double-bladed lightsaber, which is apparently a combination of the Skywalker lightsaber and that staff that she carries. So anyways, getting back to this is a little laser guillotine. And this person right here, who wasn't mentioned in the script breakdown, looks a lot like Captain Phasma, which I wonder maybe... maybe or not, if somehow she survived from The Last Jedi, or if she was just going to have the same face guard regardless. Maybe. Anyways, she doesn't survive, and who knows all that. Anyways, this is Rey meditating because she's under the tutelage of Luke Skywalker as a ghost. Apparently there's some conflict between the two of them because she thinks the way of the Jedi have been operating. The whole light and dark aspect of the Force has never really worked out, so they kind of come to heads with that whole thing. Plus Kylo Ren, and there aren't any images of this, unfortunately, but apparently he's been hiding out on Vader's castle and haunted by the ghost of Luke Skywalker. So when Luke said in The Last Jedi, "I'll see you around, kid," I guess he meant that literally and not as a metaphor, I guess. So he ends up finding this Sith holocron, which there's a message from the Emperor, who is still dead, by the way, which blows up in his face because it was intended for Darth Vader, and he ends up smelting Mandalorian metal to his head to kind of repair it, which we see a little bit more of that later. So... This is Coruscant as well, with Finn, Rose, R2-D2, and C-3PO, and they're going to the lower levels and to the old Jedi Temple, because the idea is that they're going to activate the beacon, which is going to send out across the entire galaxy, and the First Order can't block it. So, which will rally the people to their cause, and this is an image of what I think is Finn and Rose activating that same beacon, calling the likes of Broom Kid and even Bosk, even which is not a joke. Apparently, Bosk was supposed to be in this, which is really awesome. Meanwhile, though, while that's happening, Kylo Ren travels to Remicor, which, because the message from the Emperor mentioned Tal Valum, I don't know if that's how you say it, which is his old Sith teacher, which apparently instructed the Emperor and, I guess, Plagueis, I'm assuming. Anyways, it teaches Kylo Ren how to drain the life force out of someone, which comes into play later, which he then sends Kylo into a Sith cave, similar to that, what happens to Luke on Dagobah. And he also draws an apparition of Darth Vader. And in doing so, he actually loses. And while all this is happening, Rey, Poe, Chewbacca, and BB-8 go to planet Bonadan, which is, in the concept notes, that's where Poe used to live with his grandfather. Now this ship right here that they're having a run-in with, that's the Knife 9, which reintroduces the Knights of Ren, where they apparently get killed. They kill all of them there, and so they don't really factor too much into this version either. Now, this image right here is Finn rallying the underground of Coruscant to rise up against the First Order, and apparently a lot of them are made up of defective stormtroopers, like he is, and maybe word spread that he escaped and kind of inspired those people to leave as well. And what they ended up doing is outfitting all these vehicles from the stolen Star Destroyer, like AT-STs and the like, to use against the First Order. And we see a bit of that going on here. Now, the battle that takes place on Coruscant ends up being a lot of defective stormtroopers, plus the space battle that everyone rallied against across the universe against the First Order. And because they actually succeed, Hux commits suicide because he's got this whole side story in the narrative that he's collecting Force artifacts because he's obsessed with the Force and he wants to be Force sensitive, but he isn't. And he ends up impaling himself with a lightsaber when he loses. And in the draft that was leaked, it was actually supposed to be a purple lightsaber, implying that it was Mace Windu's lightsaber. But obviously here it was a different version. Next is the image here, which is General Leia. Again, this is before Carrie Fisher passed away. Rest in peace. The whole thing looks very much like a nod to A New Hope with the white outfit and all that's not really clear at what point in the movie that this takes place, but it was in it and that we know. And I think it looks great, and I really wish that would have been in there because that would have been really great. Anyways, this is Rey taking on a Beast of Mortis before her final confrontation with Kylo Ren. Notice in the corner it says D.
classic
Chang,
Star Wars
who is, of
concept
course,
artist.
a
He's done
classic
consistently
Star Wars concept
terrific
artist.
work on a bunch of these
and
films.
he's done constantly terrific work on a bunch of these films. Now, we also know that when Rey and Kylo duel, here's a closer look at his mask. So anyway, so he slashes her across the face and blinds her and ends up in a competition with Luke Skywalker, the Ghost, who manages to catch his lightsaber. And elements of that, I guess, would have carried over to when he catches the lightsaber that Rey throws. And it's from there that Rey rallies and comes back, and they do it again. And she's winning the duel and everything. So he sucks the life force out of her, and then he gives it back to her, and then he's good or whatever, and then he dies. You know how these things go. That part's a little ridiculous to me. Anyways. And then we see C-3PO mourning a broken R2-D2 who is apparently killed in the Battle of Coruscant, which he's been killed before. I mean, he was shot in the head in the Death Star run in A New Hope, which is again revived in this movie, and it's him recounting the events of the Star Wars from his perspective to people standing around with him, and people are going, oh yeah, that's really interesting, and what a great story and everything. So So that's essentially it, and I personally find this all interesting. I love all this behind the scenes kind of stuff. Now, whether or not this movie would have been better than what we got in Rise of Skywalker, I can't say. But I have to say, from what I've read and seen these images, this sounds amazing and a lot better than what we got. But I leave all of that up to you to make your own opinion and everything, because you're a human being and you can do that. Anyways, so tell me, what do you guys think about all this concept art and the stuff that's come out about Collin Trevorrow's rendition of episode 9? Go ahead and leave all your comments in that section down below. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. You know, I won't mind. If you're new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. And I will see you guys on the next video. May the Force be with you. Bye!